Okay, and now we are live. Perfect. Hi, my name is Josh the Archon, and I am the founder of the Atheist Enlightenment uh, YouTube channel. And what this channel is going to do is that we're going to delve into a plethora of topics, but we're going to actually add an atheistic spin to these type of topics, right? So the majority of the topics that we're going to have and that we're going to discuss is either philosophical, they can be based on the sciences as well. They can be, of course, and that's when I actually get my text message. Wonderful. Okay. So, so, um, now my thought process is off. My apologies. So yes, so it will be based on the actual natural sciences. So we're going to actually jump into some astrophysics. We're going to actually jump into some just physics in general. We're going to jump into and by the way, hello everybody who's watching this on at this moment. I really do appreciate that you're here to watch. Right now, this is just an introduction to the channel of itself. This is not really a show as of yet, but we're going to discuss what is going to be on the show. So when you look and we're discussing the sciences, we're discussing philosophy, we're discussing geology, we're discussing even topics when it comes to politics, to war, to any type of subject matter that you can think of. That's what we're going to delve into, but we're going to have an atheistic spin on it. So the majority of the time will be me sort of discussing these topic matters, but there will be certain times where I will have a guest on with me, an individual who will have knowledge on the specific subject matter that we're going to be discussing. And me and this individual will go back and forward within this topic matter and really try to give to you, the viewer, the best experience and the most knowledge that we can within that subject matter in itself. The other thing that we're actually going to see on the channel as well is that there will be debates. I will be having debates, and I will also be hosting debates on my channel. They won't be the first thing that you will see, but when the channel starts to actually formulate properly, you will then see massive amounts of, or maybe not massive, I'm kind of overdoing it right now, but a large amount of debates on the channel itself, and it will be based on a plethora of different subject matters, because I just want the viewer to have the most, because that's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for you, the viewer, and I think that debates actually can help solidify people within their actual thought process. So that's why I think debates are healthy, and definitely not just any type of debates, but healthy debates where you hear a back and forth between individuals. So with this being stated, that is the big thing. These are the big topics that will be brought on to the show, and we will be tackling these in order to, as I stated, benefit you, the viewer. The thing that we will also be doing is that we will be having after parties on the show as well. So if there's a particular subject matter that you actually really like, all you need to do is send me a link, or not send me a link. I'll send you a link, but you just need to write to me and say, you know what? I'm actually really interested in this topic matter, and I want to come on and maybe have a one-on-one with me, or a one-on-one with a couple of individuals that are actually on the after party as well. Or you can talk with the guests that I have on, if they are willing to stay on for that long, obviously. Greetings, Purple Rhymes with Orange. Thank you so much for coming on through, and thank you, Linear, so much for coming on through. I should have actually called out on the individual, on you both. But again, thank you so much for coming through. This is just an introduction to the show itself. So I'm just discussing what is going to be on the show, what topic matters, how we're going to engage debates, and much more. Much more conversations. We're going to have political conversations. I think that this show is going to have a variety of subject matters that you, the viewer, might actually enjoy. And I hope that you, the viewer, enjoys, because this is why. Hey, Kat the Humanist, how are you doing? Thank you so much for coming on through or coming by. I really do appreciate that. Thank you. So, the other thing that we're going to actually do, and I think this is going to be very exciting, is that there's going to be, or as I was stating before, there's going to be an after party where everybody can actually discuss the subject matter live if they want to. They don't need to, because I know sometimes a live show sometimes is very nerve-wracking. So if you don't want to come on live, that is perfectly fine, because we do have a Patreon that or we can have an after party, for instance, because I do think that that's going to be beneficial too, in order to create a community. Because I do think that we atheists need to create a sense of community with each other. So this is, I know, right, Linear? So many after parties. But I think the after party will be predominantly for the subject matter that was actually spoken about during the show. The after party is going to be for the community basis and what we're going to bring together in order to enlarge in the community, in order to just have fun, talk about multiple different subjects without it being live, without it being on public media and everything like that. So that's why I want to have 2 after parties, because it will be more relaxed and it will be more tame when it's just the community itself coming together and just talking about whatever they wish to talk about. So now I'm going to discuss why the channel itself is called the Atheist Enlightenment. For me, I've always looked at atheism, ever since I deconverted, I've always looked at atheism as this fundamental key ideology, in a sense. And even though, don't get me wrong, I know atheism in itself just means a lack of belief in a god, or the individual themselves don't believe in a god. However, what I will say is that I think the atheist community needs to think more about different subject matters that we really need to tackle within the real world in itself. So, and for me, one of the big things is not just science, but technology, because I think technology is definitely going to bring forth a new rapture, in a sense. I know rapture sounds a little religious, but I'm not talking in that sense. What I mean to say is that when we look at all the enlightenments of the past, what ended up happening was that there was this new thought process that came about. And that is what I think the atheist movement needs to promote, is a new way of looking at things, rather than just the lack of belief or the belief in a non-God world, right? So if we're able to tackle these subject matters in a particular way where people see that their boxes are being ticked, because in reality, or the way that I see it, the reason why people say that they believe in something is because at that very moment, that is the thing that ticks off most of their boxes. But it's not the thing that they will stick to forever if there is another, let's just say, ideology that takes that place, right? All you just need to do is check off those boxes. Right, Purple? I completely agree. I completely agree. I can't wait to the rapture. But I'm just kidding. But the thought process is that I want to try to bring something new to the atheist table, right? I want to try. Hope they have a PS5s. I agree. Hopefully they have PS5s. Um, but that's the one thing that I want to try to do is give something for people when they actually look at atheism. They don't necessarily just see the lack of belief in something, but they see actual benefits that come from it, right? So in a sense, within enlightenment there needs to be some sort of outlook when you think of technology, as I stated. When you think of food, for instance, I know a lot of people think, oh, well, what does food have to do with anything? But food actually has to do with a lot of things, right? And the sense that I'm seeing is that what we need to do is secularize the West more, right? We need to bring that forward and we need to secularize the West more in order for us to actually progress to where we should be, in my opinion, rather than where we're at now. Because I know that there's individuals out there that feel that they can't speak their mind because they're unable to come out as an atheist because of the communities that they're in the West. I'm not talking about elsewhere in the world, but in the West itself. And to me, that is that should not be within 2022. People should have a right to state that they are an atheist without fearing the loss of their job, without fearing the loss of their or without fearing for sometimes within certain areas their livelihoods and everything like that. And that's why I think a new enlightenment is needed, because just like all other times in the past, we've always seen whenever there was an enlightenment happening, ever since the Renaissance to the actual enlightenment itself, of the late 17 or 16, 17, and 18th century, and then let alone within the Industrial Revolution itself, how many things just changed and propelled us forward, definitely within the West, but even within the world itself. And that is the direction where I believe we need to go, is that we need to secularize more. And if we can't, or fearing of being kicked out of their own homes, exactly, or evicted from where they rent, you're 100% correct. Purple rhymes with orange. You're 100% correct. And that's why I think that this enlightenment needs to happen. Because don't get me wrong, I agree with the normalizing atheism. I agree with that. But the way that I see it needs to come from a broad variety of different ways. And there are certain individuals within the community that are doing it their way, and I think that they should do it their way. I think their way is a good way of doing certain things. Okay, I will call you Purple. But the other thing that I have to say is that there needs to be a new way or different perspectives of how to tackle this issue, in my opinion. And the only way to build this up is through and bring about this new enlightenment is by different tactics. And the tactic that I want to bring in is I want to, instead of trying to I don't want to say ask the religious people to come and accept us, but I want to kind of expand on the amount of atheists that are out there, right? Because there are certain atheists that are silent. There are certain atheists that believe that they can't say a single word or else their relatives or their community will turn their back on them. And for me, I want to be there for those individuals that are within these communities that they feel isolated in. But at the same time, I want to be there for individuals who are on the fence, that are asking questions for the belief in their deity. And from that point, I want to try to help them see that this atheism isn't as scary as you actually believe, and that there's so much that can come from it that can actually benefit them themselves, rather than just trying to pull, because that's the one thing, and I kind of agree with the individual who told me this, was that he stated, why pull somebody's safety blanket when you don't have a foundation yourself, right? So if you pull the safety blanket from somebody and they're falling into the abyss because that's all they knew was religious morals and religious values and ethics, and now you just pull that from underneath them, but you just don't give them another foundation, another fundamental foundation that they can use, what ends up happening is that these individuals reach for anything that they can try to get their hands on. And for me, I think that that's a travesty on our part, because we're the ones that are kind of yanking these type of what these safety blankets from these individuals. And if we are going to do that, we should have at least a foundation of something that is there, in order to have the theist, instead of having their safety blankets yanked, be like, look, this is my foundation. See how my foundation is, and you can step onto this foundation and feel safe, and you can feel a part of a community that actually cares for you and wishes to help you as you develop into the individual that you are without a deity. Not dictate to you how to live, but you can choose the way that you wish to live, but you can have a community there to help you on that step towards that direction, or towards the atheistic direction. That's what I mean. So all in all, what I really wish to do is bring forth a sense of community. I want to bring forth a sense of different topic matters for people to actually that is interesting for you, the viewer. And what I want to try to do is to help grow, at least, and I mean holistically grow, the atheistic community towards a better future for us, right? Because that's the thing. For so long, we've been trying to pander to the theists in order to accept us within their community. And even though that the community, our Western civilization, is getting better, right, and becoming more secular, the problem is that we are still the outsiders. And that's the actual realities of the situation, is that instead of being outsiders, we need to start focusing on ourselves, building up our communities, and supporting our communities in whichever way possible, in order to bring forth more prosperous future for not alone for our next generation, and for anybody who wishes to associate with us, right? Because obviously creating a community does not mean that it's a us versus them. It just means that we will focus on us, we will help us. But then if you also need help, not you, the viewer, but if the theist also needs help, well, we'll also reach our hand out to help them as well. But we have to focus on our community. And that's why a big part of the way that I look at things is that I see things. The biggest, yes, Linear, I think I need help too. But the biggest thing that I see is that I look at the communities that are out there, and I see that there are certain things that work and there are certain things that don't work. And what I'm trying to do, and what I think is the best, is that you allow, because there's a lot of communities, and definitely religious communities, that don't necessarily allow the freedom for people to think outside of the box. With atheism, the beautiful thing is that people can think outside of that box. And that's what I want to try to do, is help people think outside of that box. But at the same time, I started as a Catholic, converted to a Methodist. No, it makes sense, Purple. It makes sense. And I would also agree with you in that particular way as well. You know, beforehand, I was also a Catholic, and then I became a Muslim. And then after I left Islam and went into Buddhism, and after Buddhism, I became an atheist. So these are perspectives of which I myself went through. But the thing is that we don't need anything that kind of dictates to people how to think, but we do need what I think is a foundation which is there in order to help. Yes, I did have a Buddhist phase in my younger days. And then if we need to help, wow, hold on. Okay, now I got it. We need a foundation in order to help at least have a way that we can have a jump board from one thing to another, right? Because obviously we can't have the same thought processes. Religion tried to do that, and obviously with the amount of sects which are out there, they failed at creating a one thought process for all of mankind. So obviously for us atheists, we can't think of making some sort of one thought process ideology and think that everybody's just going to go along with it. No, that's not at all the situation. However, I think with a proper foundation and a solid foundation, individuals can then feel more secure within their atheism, or within their secular humanism, or within their heathenism, or within whatever the situation may be, right? And say, okay, well, if anybody tries to debate me based on my morals, based on my values, based on whatever the situation is, well, now there's a foundation right there that you can step back onto and say, this is how I interact. This is how I will engage these particular individuals and stuff like that, because there's something already there for me to stand on that is solid. And that's what I want to try to bring forward into our community, is at least something that's solid, that people could, if they feel that they're a little bit shaky or something like that, they can then stand back on that and be like, okay, let me sort of, I was about to say power up, but let me sort of stand here for a bit. And then after, I can then venture outward into whatever other thought process that I had, or as I stated, secular humanism, all the rest of these other isms that are more on a naturalist perspective, right? Like naturalism in a sense. So that's mostly what the channel and what the show is trying to bring forth to the viewer, bring forth to the community. Right. And likewise too, Cat the Humanist. Likewise too, I was one of those individuals that was also a questioner. And I think all people are questioners in a sense. But the one thing that I think that people do is that sometimes the questions are too nerve-wracking for them, right? So instead of actually delving into the question more, they kind of think, okay, you know what, I'm going to back away from that, and I'm going to stay within the safety bounds of my own, of the ideology that I'm in, right? Rather than going into and continuously question and then be like, you know what? Wow, this is what I got from my questioning. Because I think atheists actually come from when one questions their faith to begin with. And I think in order to grow the atheist movement more, or the secular humanist movement, or whichever movement you're thinking about more, is you need to make people question more, because we've all come from a theistic background. Okay, I shouldn't say that. That's an overgeneralization. But most of us came from a theist background. So in that case, we can't just be the only few that became atheists, right? Because of questioning. We just allowed our questioning to get to such a point where now we arrived at the position where we arrived at today, or whenever we deconverted from our religious thought process. And that's what I want to try to help people with. If people are questioning, I want to be there in order to help them and rationally help them to the best of my capabilities to show that there is so much more down the way if you just continue questioning, because there's a sense of like freedom that you finally get when you don't need to worry about nonsensical dogmatic thought processes. And I think in the end, that is what human beings need in order to take that next step forward. If anyone tells you. Exactly, Purple. Exactly. You need, if anybody tells you that you cannot question, that should rise up red flags immediately for that, for those belief systems that you're in. Because any belief system, or lack thereof, a belief system, should allow you to continuously question, but at the same time, it should also give you answers to the questions that you're looking for and that you're seeking, right? The less questions that are being answered, the harder it is for somebody, because I can understand that, for somebody to stay within the belief or within the thought process that they once carried, right? And that's why I think that the atheistic movement, from people who are complete determinists to people who are based on probability or probabilism, and I know that there are certain theists or atheists, sorry, that are based on the free will outlook of things. And even though that I guess you can say ideologically we think differently from the determinist, from the compatibilist, that's the word that I'm looking for, the compatibilist and the free willer. But all in all, we are still moving forward in order to talk in a secular way with each other, in order to either convince or in order to show the truth of certain aspects, because we should always try to look towards, and I know truth is a very ambiguous word, but it's true. We need to look towards something that has more evidence to it rather than the lack thereof of evidence to it. And that's why I'm so happy that I have that together, hopefully we can continue on with this atheist enlightenment in order to actually shine the light in the darkness of theism, in a sense, and show people that there's a way out of the cave that doesn't necessarily need to be quote unquote hostile to a person, but can still lead them to a better life without without a religion that they need to follow, or a dogmatic thought process that they have to follow. And that's the big reason why I created the Atheist Enlightenment, in order to show people that there's a better way, there's a progressive way for us all to move forward, not just for ourselves in this generation, but for those in the next generation, and hopefully for the generation to come. And that is the big reason why I love the atheist community so much. Because with this, we can truly start looking forward to better days. With atheism, we can then push away the dogma and move towards a better tomorrow for, hopefully, obviously, the concept would be to include all. But because people have different thought processes, people are driven by different motives and everything like that, is going to be difficult to do so. But at least within an environment where people can discuss and where people can hash out issues and problems and everything like that that are closest and dearest to them, we can slowly but surely create a community that is much more open, which is much more compatible with each other, and that is much more civil with each other. And as we move forward, we can show and make an actual example to show to any community that is out there today, and show that atheism isn't just based on the lack thereof of a god, or the belief or non-belief in a god world, but also that atheism leads to a better world without there needing to be a god world there in the first place. And that's where I think that we should be aiming for. That's where I think the arrow for atheism should be directed towards. Because I find that atheists talk so much about God, but sadly, because of their talk about God, there's actual real world issues that they seem to forget, that seems to dissipate within the ether while they're trying to compete versus individuals that believe in a God world. And I think that if we as atheists have those discussions, I'm not saying don't have those discussions, definitely have those discussions, but then show the reality that what a non-God world will promote, what a non-God world will bring to people in the future. And I think if we can do that, more people will actually start to look at what they're in now, the box that they're in now, and say, hey, you know what? That box over there that is now ticked off so many of what I believe in, or just the normal values that I believe in, it's easier for people to make that transition. And that's what I want to try to do, is make it easier for people to make that transition into the atheist box, rather than constantly battling it out against like living in a God world. No, we shouldn't just be focusing on that. We should be focusing on more. We should be focusing on the human aspect, the us. Because for real, we're the only ones who can truly take care of each other. And if we're able to actually show that, if we're able to show other communities that, look, we believe in a non-God world, and look at what we're able to accomplish. Look at what we're able to achieve, and look at the areas that we do inhabit. Look at how peaceful those areas are compared to the areas that a God world, or people who believe in a God world, possess. And slowly but surely, I promise, you will start seeing more people realizing that a non-God world is better than a God world. And that's why the atheist enlightenment, I believe, needs to happen. But before it can happen to individuals that believe in a God world, I think that it needs to happen with us. We need to start focusing on what truly matters to us, and how we can actually work together in order to create that framework, in order to then create something that we can stand on and feel okay to stand on, or not just okay, but feel really good to stand on, while also focusing on our community. Because that's the thing. The only way that we can move forward is if we can focus on us. And once we're able to focus on us and we're doing well, then we can focus on the outside. And then we can really show people this is what our community can really do. This is what we can completely and absolutely achieve when we look at the atheist community as a whole. I completely agree with you, Purple. I completely agree. But I think the next step, because our online community is a beautiful community, and I completely agree. But I think that now the community needs to start working on the outside of the internet. It needs to actually start promoting more outside of our own internet community or online communities, and actually start creating community centers that are out there in the real world, so that when people might come in and try to talk down on the atheists that are in there, or whatever the situation is. But that's the thing. If you can have that shining light in the actual community itself, just like the Satanists, right? Then we will we will be able to have more of a say within the actual real world affairs. And that's what I want to try to promote, is that yes, we need to be more publicly visible, but not just that, we need to be more publicly vocal as a community, but not against a god world, for instance, but just against policies that we are not going to accept. We need to be out there. We need to be promoting these type of anti-policies of those policies which politicians are utilizing in order to really build. I am so Neil the 604 Atheist. Welcome, my friend, and thank you for stopping on by. Greatly appreciated. I am sorry I might butcher your name, but is it Air? Air? Thank you for coming on by. Evening. And I hope you all are having a great night and a great day, because I surely am. So that's the thing that I want to try to do, is I want to be more vocal. I want to be, but not just on the internet. I want to try to promote something that people can get behind and say, this is something that I want to actually jump onto. This is something that actually will help us move forward. And that's why I want to create, and have created at this very moment, the Atheist Enlightenment. Oh, it's pronounced Airhead. Nice. Pronounced Airhead. Nice. So if anybody does have any questions, please feel free to ask any questions, because I don't want to feel that this is just a me talking to or at you, but you're unable to ask me any questions or anything. If not, then I'll just continue. But if you do, please ask away, and I'll definitely so from so when we're looking at the overwhelming way that we're seeing the West today, we're seeing that the West is becoming more secular. And I think through a secularization, we can slowly but surely build that foundation easier for us, because people who live in North America do have it much more easier than individuals that live in other nations, and even Western, well, not just Western, well, I guess you could say Western Europe too. So if you're looking, there seems to, oh yeah, Neil, please ask your question, my friend. So and don't get me wrong, like as soon as you ask your question, I'll jump in and answer it. But yeah, so the thing is that when you look elsewhere, there's so much that an atheist needs to go through, right? And even within the communities, favorite weed, dang. I haven't smoked in such a long time though, so I'm not. I think it was called purple something. Purple something? Purple rain or something like that. I might be wrong based on the name, but it was purple something when I was younger. I love that. But I've stopped, sadly. So I found that I was too reliant on it. So I ended up saying, nope, not doing that anymore. Oh, my friend, seriously, I'm not against it. I'm not against smoking at all, smoking weed at all. It's just that I haven't done it in a long time. But if I'm with other people who want to do that, I'll definitely have a puff of some. No problem with that. but but yeah. And the other thing that I think is the issue with the lack thereof. Well, maybe not lack thereof. I think lack thereof is. Oh yes, brownies are much. Actually, I would agree. Brownies are much better. Unless I'm thinking about the brownies which you're thinking about, then maybe. But anyways. So when we're looking at our community, I feel that we have something really good that we have. We have a landscape in a sense, but I find that the landscape isn't as of yet with a foundation. And I find that sadly, a lot of atheist communities are like islands. You know, there's an island over there in the ocean, and there's an island over there in the ocean, and there's an island over there. But we're kind of doing our own thing, but we're not necessarily interconnected as a community. It's just like an island of communities that are separated from each other. And I want to try to drag it sounds a little hostile, but what I want to try to do is connect our communities together, because I think each and every one of our communities is doing something that is different but at the same exact time beneficial for the atheist community as a whole. So if we're able to interconnect ourselves within this community, within this web, this great web which is out there, then we can really work together into finding out how we can actually create that foundation which I believe is needed for our community as a whole. Not a foundation which means to dictate to people, but a foundation that we can stand on and say, oh, okay, these seem to be a couple of ticks that we agree on as a group or whatever, that we can then put those as that foundation, so that when we look into, I may still do them with pirate sound. but yeah, I think together we have something that is amazing. I think together we can create something that is amazing. And I think together we can create that enlightenment that I think people are waiting for, in a sense. I think people are waiting for something new to come around the corner. They're waiting for something to drag us to a new position, a new place, where we can then stand and say, this is what our hard work finally led to. You know, this is what our hard work has finally achieved. And what that is progress. We want to progress in a particular way where that we can look back and say, you know what? My today was better than my parents' day, and will lead to my future generation's day to be better. And they can work on top of, obviously, our labors, because there's always going to be problems. There's always going to be something that's going to be there that we're going to have to run up to and actually try to circumvent or actually mount. But in the end, yes. But in the end, I think that if we work together, we can actually achieve that. And as I stated, that's the whole entire purpose of the Atheist Enlightenment and this channel, is to help all of us get to that place. Because we've already, and just like Neil and just like Kat and just like Lynn, we've all we're all doing our own things. What's on my lip? Man, I swear. Wes, how are you doing, Wes? Oh no. I've tried so hard. I've tried so hard, but it just doesn't seem to want to grow anymore. But still, hopefully with some vitamin B, as I wipe it on top, it'll just stimulate that hair growth. Yes, Linear. Yes, one day. One not the second one, the first one. but yeah, so I'm actually super happy and super stoked that you guys stopped by. You guys are absolutely amazing for stopping by. Thank you so much for and if you wish to subscribe, that would definitely be beneficial because that would definitely help me out a lot. So thank you if you do subscribe. Much appreciated. Eyebrow pencil? How dare you? Does it look like my thing is penciled in? My thing. My but anyways. So literally, thank you for coming in for the introduction. This is just an introductory, I think, period for the Atheist Enlightenment. What I was just trying to explain is that, Neil, thank you so much for subscribing. It is greatly appreciated. Kat, thank you so much for subscribing. It is greatly appreciated. Purple and R, I'm sorry. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you. And I really do hope that one day, if you guys want, obviously, that you can come on to the show, because I am planning on doing after parties or after parties in a sense. Because my first after parties, what I want to do, it would predominantly be based on the subject matter of the show. But the second after party would be for the community to get together and just talk, you know? Put me in your favorite section. Yes. Yes, Neil, that will happen immediately. I'm still trying to decide. My friend, you're still trying to decide if you want. I see how it is, Wes. I see how it is. Trying to make it hard for me to gain your sub. Fine then. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah. I'm really hoping that the content in the future that will be on this show will be interesting for you all and for the viewers in general. And I do hope that we can slowly but surely build this community. That's right, Neil. You tell Wes what to do. Wes, listen to Neil. I'm just kidding with you. But yeah, I really hope that the future of the Atheist Enlightenment show and channel, and then actually the future of the atheist community, will be such that will change the landscape as a whole. So, Wes, yes. Thank you, my man. Thank you. So, also, I almost forgot, is that the shows will the shows will be on Saturdays and Sundays at 9 p.m. So, when we... Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Purple. I'll definitely come by for one of your chats. 100%. 100. Just send me a link and I'm 100% there. But yeah, I really want to because I find the atheist community just absolutely amazing. And I really want to work hard in order to promote our community in the best light. And if I can do that, and obviously, like, you guys have done so well just to begin with. So I'm kind of like this newcomer trying to crawl on into the stage, or crawl onto the stage. But still, it would be amazing to work with every single one of you and have you on the show, or I go on your show, or whatever the situation is. So predominantly it's going to be at 9 p.m. EST, 8 p.m. CT, and 6 p.m. PST, I believe. Yes, I'm correct based on that. Thank you. And yeah, I think that it will be really, really good and everything. But for now, I do got to end the show because I think I'm just rambling right now. But it is amazing to have you all on. Thank you for time zones be hard. Absolutely. It was amazing just talking with you. And as I stated, if you have any questions, anything, my shows or whatever, I love when people ask questions. So ask away. Always, if anything, please, like, if actually before I shut down, if there's any other questions that anybody has, please ask, because I love questions. How tall is that guy? That guy is 6'9". Yes, this guy right here is 6'9". That's right. If somebody just pulls out my plug and I just shut down, you just got to put me in a place, like put me in a closet, and I just power up. Seriously, Neil, it was great to meet you as well. And we have met before, but still, it is awesome that you came on by and wanted to engage in this new channel, right? And so I do appreciate that. Thank you very much for doing it. And yeah, you guys have a fantastic night. I almost forgot. Tomorrow, I remembered because I forgot that it was Father's Day tomorrow. So I don't have a show tomorrow, but next week we have on Saturday and Sunday, we got 2 subject matters that I love, in a sense, and I think that might be interesting for the viewers in general. The first subject matter is based on world conflict, in a sense. And I know, yes, it sounds a little out there, but I think that it does need to be spoken about, in a sense, in a particular way, and definitely with an atheistic twist on it. And then on Sunday, what I'm going to actually be talking about is community. So on Saturday, world conflict. On Sunday, world community. So again, thank you so much for stopping by. You're all amazing. have a great night. Have great rest. Have a great weekend. And have a great Father's Day. All right. Have a great day.